I was one of 10 Republicans in the House to vote for impeachment. And I think we've seen the same in a lot of rhetoric from officials of my party who, were openly condemning, in the days that followed, and then kind of backpedaled so hard the chain fell off the bicycle and or chain fell off the sprocket and was dragging on the ground. So, I'm I think when we slip into political violence, that is a line that cannot be tolerated, that cannot be excused, that cannot be treated with kid gloves.
I'm the last Democrat in Congress right now who represents a district that went for Romney, Trump, and Trump. So we're a smaller group. But, when I was making decisions when Trump's first impeachment happened, you have to get comfortable with the fact that you may not be reelected and that some things are more important than you keeping a job.
These are two Congress members who have taken risks and on the same issue, on that issue of impeachment. Elissa Slotkin, the first impeachment, her district, she was under a lot of pressure not to support the impeachment. Peter Meijer, a new congressman, hasn't even had a chance to establish himself and his status in his district right off. Took a couple of really hard votes, one to certify the election and one to impeach. This is rare in politics today. And why is it so hard for politicians?
One is the party system itself. I mean, as new members of Congress, you go to Washington and you want to rise through the ranks. Well, that system of rewards loyalty first, more than anything else. The other big reason that members of Congress, I think, end up doing this is the way that districts have been drawn for so long. They have been drawn to ideological exclusionary extremes as a means of holding power for whatever party gets to draw the map. And what people fear more than anything else when they have a seat in Congress is not that the other party might challenge them and take that seat from them, but that they would get a challenge from within their own party, from either the far right or the far left. I think we see something different with Slotkin and Meijer because their districts look really different than most members of Congress. Slotkin's district is largely Republican. She was able to win 2 cycles ago because she appealed to the middle. It's a district that has a growing number of Democrats, so she was able to put together a coalition of both parties. Meyer's district is Republican, but it's nowhere near as Republican as most districts in the state, and it's not as extreme as some of the others. I think we will see more districts that look like these two do now when they draw the maps this year for 2022 and going into this decade, or at least that is the hope, is that most of the districts, as many as possible, can be bipartisan, can be places where a Republican or a Democrat has just about the same chance of winning the seat.
Slotkin's in a pretty conservative district and has managed to survive a difficult election and threats of a challenge. Meijer has already been censured for his votes by his local Republican Party. He's bound to face a primary. He's already been promised a priority. And I think about this issue of representation, and in some sense, I wonder, how obliged are you to represent the will of your district, and how much individual conscience you can apply? I mean, that's always, I think, a thin line. Slotkin is one of 7 Democratic congressmen elected from a Trump district. I mean, what's her responsibility to those people who are perhaps far more conservative than the other districts represented by Democrats in Congress? And same with Meijer. I mean, how far can you deviate from what your people want?
The idea of longevity in Congress is the idea that over time you build a relationship with those constituents that allows you to take risks, that allows you to say, I actually don't agree with you on this. I think you're wrong. I'm going to do what I believe is right. And if you want to punish me for it, go ahead. Right now, so many of the districts are drawn in a way that people are just scared to do anything other than the quote unquote norm, because they'd get an intra-party challenge in the next election.
I'm also very interested in this problem solvers caucus that
Yeah.
both Slotkin and Meijer belong to. This group that has committed in principle to support bipartisan governing. Now, it's still a limited number of members of Congress, but I hope they can gain sway. I mean, they've committed themselves to supporting only bipartisan legislation. Now, they haven't been tested much about this, but I think this budget bill, this COVID-19 relief bill, would test that. How much optimism do you have that this caucus can grow and actually commit to pragmatic governing?
You do have people on either extreme who are saying, look, it's go time, it's battle time, and we're just not going to deal with the other side. But I think there are a lot of people who are really tired of that. And I think what we saw on January 6th inspired a lot more people to say, this has gotten ridiculous. I mean, we can't govern together if one side is literally attacking the Capitol, trying to overturn the process of government. I think there is a really strong will right now among the American people to see more working together. Now, of course, the pragmatic end of that means that people have got to give up something, right? You're not going to get everything that you want on every issue. But starting with this caucus, even though it's not that many members, and kind of formalizing it as an approach, I think has the potential to gain a lot of support, a lot of public support, which then, of course, puts more pressure on other members of Congress to do the same.
If we could get leaders elected out of these caucuses that are committed to working together, I think then you start seeing real change in Congress and in the type of policymaking we see at both the national and state level.
You can find more at onedetroitpbs.org or subscribe to our social media channels and sign up for our One Detroit newsletter.